While widely regarded as one of the best franchises of all time, Dragon Ball is also a series with many plot holes and inconsistencies with its own in-world logic. Often, it changes already defined rules as the story goes. What if that wasn't so much the case? What if bad guys were never allowed to keep their bodies when sent to Hiffle, for instance? On another note, what would have happened if Goku never took off with Shenron at the end of Dragon Ball GT? Where might the story have gone from there? Shout out to Pimpalo Gonzalez for being the first to find the hidden stone in the last video. Be the first to find it today and timestamp it in the comments if you want a shout out next time. Dragon Ball New Age is a manga that goes back a ways. This version was made right after the Battle of Gods movie came out, and well before Dragon Ball Super was officially announced. Give Malik, the creator, all the love and support you can using his various social medias. You can find those in the description. Also, an important note, this is the original Dragon Ball New Age, and not the definitive edition that's been recently published. Although, this version goes much further into the story. Planet Earth of Dragon World. This emerald planet has seen its share of threats, and each time, it was defended by Son Goku and his friends. After a long period of peace, a foolish wish would be made on the Dark Star or Black Star Dragon Balls, beginning the story of Dragon Ball GT. Running afoul, the alien menace known as Baby would make his appearance. Though, through perseverance, Son Goku achieves his ultimate power, the mighty Super Saiyan 4. And not long after, the threat of Baby is eliminated from the universe forever. But every choice made splinters into different directions. What is and what could have been? After the defeat of Baby, time fractures once again. Our story begins here, but our tale is not what it once was. The story that you know, but the tale that could have been. Somewhere, away from prying eyes, someone carries on the legacy of Dr. Gero, intending to complete his work using his ultimate plan, the Super Series Protocol. Phase 1 involves the creation and testing of the first prototype Super Series android, Super 17. To this end, the Hidden Menace creates an artificial clone of number 17, comprised of the necessary components needed to create Super 17. Clone 17's goal is to hijack the mind of the original cyborg and merge with them. And he succeeded. After ambushing and defeating Son Goku, still in his child body, the two 17s unleash an all-out assault on the world. Once confronted by the combined forces of Earth's super warriors, the two robotic villains merge, becoming the ultimate android killing machine we know as Super 17. Outclassing even our hero, and nearly eliminating all the heroes of Earth. But thanks to the help of 18, Goku is able to end the threat of the super android. After this, the Dragon Balls are called on once again to restore Earth to the state it previously knew, but years of overuse had caused them to crack under the strain of the accumulated negative energy, birthing the Shadow Dragons. Formed from wishes themselves, the 7 Shadow Dragons unleash havoc upon an already devastated world. One by one, Son Goku defeats each of them. However, the final dragon, known as Omega Shenron, proves to be the ultimate test for our hero. During the course of the battle, Son Goku is mortally wounded by the evil dragon. In the end, with Vegeta's help, the help of his friends, and a spirit bomb of universal proportions, Omega Shenron is finally vanquished, and the Earth is saved once more. Using the final rule-free wish granted by Shenron, Goku restores the Earth to the state it knew before the attacks of the two Android 17s, allowing those killed in the attack since to be revived. Following the wish, the Dragon Balls, Earth's greatest treasure, disappear from the world forever. Then, whispering a goodbye to his loved ones with his final breath, Son Goku finally succumbs to his injuries and passes on to the afterlife. Through the sacrifice of its greatest hero, the Earth he had fought for so long had finally obtained peace. But the story doesn't end there. Vegeta, stepping up to fill the void left by Goku's absence, toils every day at Capsule Corp, enduring a training from hell like never before. His hard work pays off, as he's finally able to control the might of Super Saiyan 4 without the use of the Blitzwave generator. During that time, Krillin, one of Goku's oldest friends, passes away surrounded by loved ones. The ravages of age had finally caught up to him, but in return for his valiance and assistance in defense of the Earth, Lord Enma, also known as King Yemma, allows him to keep his body, returning him to his physical prime. Upon journeying to the upper world, he would finally meet and train with longtime telepathic pen pal King Kai. Soon after, Mr. Satan, known as the Champion of Earth, discovers that he is afflicted with a rare disease with no known cure. Making the most of his time remaining on Earth, he opens several martial arts schools and distributes considerable donations to charities in pursuit of a cure for the disease for future generations. Unable to fight anymore, Hercule announces his retirement and his search for a successor to his mantle of Champion of the Earth, remembering his famous, or infamous, showdown with number 18 years prior. He bestows upon her the title, before passing on sometime afterwards, remembered by the world as its greatest hero, their champ. Now, roughly 2 years after the battle with Omega Shenron, Trunks and Pan travel by flying car and appear very nicely dressed for a special occasion. Looking out the window, the pair comment how the storm outside is getting pretty bad. Pouting, Pan suggests they could have gotten to 18's inauguration party quicker if they had just flown themselves. But Trunks argues then they would have been late and soaking wet, suggesting she's just cranky because she has to wear a dress for once. Which seems to be at least partially true. She shouts for him to shut up and insists he knows she hates wearing girly stuff. However, her dad told her she had to wear it for the party. While it was merely an off comment, he tries to get her to calm down. She's having none of it, telling him not to tell her to calm down. He's the one who started it. Rolling his eyes for her to lower her voice, she continues her objections. When a bolt of lightning strikes the car, even though the most they have at stake is dirtying their clothes, Pan hollers for Trunks to do something, who's doing his best to bring them down for a crash landing, telling her to hang on. And doing so as gracefully as could be asked for, the pair take shelter from the rain in a nearby cave. Trunks calls his mother to alert her of the situation, as Pan mocks him quietly, repeating she told him they should have just flown themselves. Either not hearing or ignoring her, he continues his conversation with Bulma and explains they're somewhere in the northern mountains. They plan to stay put until the rain lets up. Quickly growing bored, Pan lets her curiosity get the best of her. Whether in reality or just in her imagination, she could have sworn she heard something. She peeks around the corner to find an unlit torch, then discovers what appears to be an ancient room, immediately calling for Trunks to come here. Just as astonished, the two of them gaze over the artifacts in amazement. Pan questions what this place is, saying it looks abandoned. While he can't be sure, her companion believes it could be an old forge, although he's never seen forging tools like these before. Wandering off, she then calls for him to look at something else, handing over some sort of scroll. Neither one can decipher what it could mean. When it hits Trunks, fully confident it's a type of blueprint. Not only that, but a blueprint for Dragon Balls. He's not able to make out the symbols, but knows they're likely Namekian, reiterating the purpose of the scroll is unmistakable. Going on about it, Pan lets his words turn into unintelligible mumbles, as yet another sight catches her eyes. Removing a cloth, she can't believe it, again telling Trunks he needs to see this, wondering what it could be. They find a complete set of Dragon Balls. Picking one up, he comments how they look just like the old ones, but these are black, different from both the original Orbs and the Black Star Balls from a few years ago. Pan utters they almost look like the ones from way back, but when they cracked, unleashing the Shadow Dragons. Though, Trunks doesn't believe that's the case here, thinking they were made this way. Then the obvious dawns on the granddaughter of Goku. How is it possible they haven't come across them till now? And it could be possible that they have a different signal, or maybe it's that they can't show up on radar at all. As Pan gets an idea, why don't they summon their dragon? However, thinking rationally and remembering their little intergalactic journey, even if these aren't the Black Star Dragon Balls, he doesn't think it's the best idea since they don't know much about him. Goading him on, she taunts if he's turned into a big chicken these last few years, not so convincingly arguing it's not that at all, he's just worried about the negative energy and all that. Set on her idea, she reminds the old ones cracked because they use them too much, so if they only use these one time, it shouldn't hurt. Shouting, they summon it. Relinquishing to her will, he panically calls for her not to do so in the cave, worried of a collapse. Though it's too late, as she calls the Great Dragon forth to grant her wish, causing the orbs to begin to glow. Trunks puts his concern into words, warning his friend to think before she acts. That dragon is going to bring the cave down on top of them. Realizing she has become heir, he takes her by the arm to make a quick escape.
mortals who have summoned me, think now carefully upon your desires.
Laying eyes on the creature, he's just as big as the old Shenron. Pan wonders if he's friendly, causing Trunks to grunt they should have thought of that earlier. The serpent bellows they state their wishes, as he will grant any three. But a question must be asked. The Capsule Corp heir beckons if he's an evil dragon. And though his creator had a dark heart, that is an abstract he himself is beyond. Good or evil, it depends on what they wish. Pan tries to explain that a few years ago, their use of the Dragon Balls caused them to break and create evil dragons, inquiring if that will happen with him. The entity quells they have no such thing to fear from him, once again questioning if they have wishes or if he should leave. Even if it sounds too good to be true, they both feel there must be some kind of catch, or at least one feels that way. As Pan shouts for the dragon to bring her grandpa back to life.
A simple request.
With a zip, Goku returns. Looking at himself, he asks how he's alive. He thought they agreed not to use the Dragon Balls anymore. His granddaughter fills him in on everything that's happened the last few minutes, bringing him up to speed. She hopes he isn't mad. And while he knows he's not going to hear the end of this from the old man, it's already done, so what can you do? The dragon again bellows he's growing impatient, commanding they state their other wishes or he will take his leave. And no one really knows what else they should wish for, if anything, as an idea springs into Goku's mind. The Black Star Dragon Balls are only stone, so he wants to make it so they can never be reactivated again. The dragon pauses for a moment before stating that's an odd request. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't be able to do so. But if they are indeed stone, their power cannot nullify his own. With a flash of his eyes, he growls it has been done, demanding their third and final wish. Yet Pan doesn't get it, questioning why wish for that. He doesn't answer her, instead blurting out another desire. He explains a few years ago, an Namekian named Piccolo died on Earth. Naturally, he wants to bring him back to life like himself. A request that gets the others excited, and a request that is easily granted. While Piccolo is surprised to discover he's returned to the world of the living, the dragon bids them farewell. Taking a long gaze at Goku, he can't believe he's alive as well, asking how this is possible. And he admits it's a long story, so he'll tell him all about it at the party. Arriving to 18's inauguration commemoration, the gang has even more reason to celebrate. Everyone catches up, happy to see each other. But across the world, where the Black Dragon Balls have settled, the dark price for their use slowly begins to be extracted. And if Trunks could see them, he would realize he was right. There was a catch. 11 months later, far across the universe, a face from the distant past begins to resurface. A woman questions, "Is it ready, Nico?" Responding is a middle-aged gentleman who confirms it is. Though it took some doing, but he believes this is some of his finest work. This customized scouter reads in Bebit units and can register numbers Planet Trade scouters cannot. It has reinforced hardware and is linked directly to her pod controls. Speaking of which, she then inquires what of her pods. With a smirk, he instructs her to follow, as she knows how he takes great pride in his work. He's reverse engineered newer pods from the old ones, complete with masking tech, and he so much as updated the propulsion system 3 times faster than the old version. Although, he does need to warn about the hypersleep system, more specifically, warn her husband, as she knows well his power, and while he has no qualm about her herself, he fears his body may react a bit negatively should he overexert himself too soon after coming out of suspended animation, urging her to avoid this if possible. She promises to try, but he is a stubborn one, asking where he is by the way. The landing deck? Which is precisely the case. Nico offered him some of his best armor, but he opted only for a combat suit. The woman then thanks him before taking her leave. She enters her pod. Communicating with the one next to her, she questions if her love is getting a bit restless, and if he's that anxious for the reunion to come. She's met with silence, merely a smile. The deck command calls out to clear the vessels for takeoff, wishing them fortune and for them to return safely. The unnamed man in the second pod utters, "It's time for us to get reacquainted, Prince Vegeta." 30 days later, they arrived to planet Earth, quite ready to do whatever it is they're planning. Meanwhile, 3 years after the defeat of Omega Shenron, Vegeta continues his intense training, though is confused why the gravity suddenly changed back to normal. As sassy as ever, his loving wife reveals it was her doing because it's the only way she can drag him out of this room anymore. In fact, he's been like this ever since Goku came back. She knows that since he finally caught up to his old rival, he's still trying not to fall behind again. But even the mighty Prince Vegeta needs to take a lunch break every now and then. Bending to her will, he alas suggests she should never interrupt his training like this. They never know. Talking over him to continue her sass, she quips, Yeah, new threats, Kakarot, get stronger! All that jazz. She scoffs at what battle junkie Saiyans are, and is only happy Brawl didn't turn out the same. Otherwise, she would have gone nuts already. When something else catches his attention, asking, What's that noise? A low-flying plane? When whatever it is also catches the focus of Bulma. It's no plane, but the two figures, presumably Saiyans. Now on full alert, Vegeta wonders how the heck a couple of space pods were able to make it all the way here without him sensing either one. Not to mention where they've come from and what they want. But the prince doesn't plan on waiting for answers very long. Moments later, Bulma reluctantly questions if she has to tell him she has a bad feeling about this. After all, he could wait for help. But the prince has his mind set. They crash down in his city, nearly hit his home. There's no way he's waiting. His wife is just mostly annoyed by his attitude. He should know better than anyone else that space pods are never good news. And he does know this, going on to state 3 years ago, when Kakarot died, he himself swore an oath to protect this world in his place. His being alive now makes no difference. He still has to keep that oath. Although she resigns to his stubbornness, she growls for him to do what he wants and just leave the wives to stitch the idiots back together when they get beat up, tired of what a pain it is to deal with him and Goku, before letting out a sigh that she wouldn't have it any other way, only asserting he better not die. On the far side of West City, the male figure asks, So, this is Earth, huh? I had expected better. His wife, as previously stated, merely stares at her surroundings with a stern expression. Without saying a word, she activates her scouter. She explains that the average unit power across the planet barely breaks into Class 2. There are around a dozen with greater unit power, but only 6 of them are even considerable. Showing to be able to sense energy, the brutish figure alerts of an oncoming power. A strong one. A familiar one. The man knows it's him. It's Vegeta. When a local police officer shouts for the pair to hold it right there. Of course, reading his power as only Class 1, the woman scoffs, surely he jests, as he clearly poses 0 threats. Though he isn't deterred, commanding them to show their hands as they are under arrest. With the ironic choice of words, one of the strangers utters, Oh, you want to see my hands? Firing away, Vegeta bulks at the sheer power and is now able to feel the exact location of the immense key. It's as large as both he and Kakarot. With a maniacal grin, the invader wonders aloud if his wife thinks that got Vegeta's attention, but she's more concerned if he overdid it a tad. The other's also sensing what has happened. Trunks, who's a dead ringer for his future self-design and holding a black Dragon Ball, mutters that this new power that just appeared feels just like his father's. Taking off, there's no doubt about it. There are actually 2 powers right near his dad, one smaller one, and a really big one. And in the palace of Kami, Goten and Piccolo interrupt the training of Goku, Gohan, and Noob in the lower chambers of the Lookout, alerting them to the sudden presence of 2 mysterious visitors on the planet. Looking amongst the wreckage, Vegeta knows that blast originated from around here. He also knows he's not mistaken. There were definitely 2 warriors here just a few seconds ago. Getting frustrated, he knows they were right here, confused where they could have gone. When a voice utters, So good to see you again, Vegeta. The duo let themselves be known, as the male continues that it's been far too long and he's grown, but he'd recognize the prince anywhere, stating he looks just like the king. Spotting their tails, Vegeta can't believe his eyes. Saiyans. More importantly, getting a look at this man's face, our hero feels the two of them look just alike. The female warrior assures there is no doubt. The resemblance between them is uncanny. The stranger smirks in agreement. It's almost like seeing a reflection. But Vegeta is in no mood for their games. He growls that he has never seen him before in his life, causing the man to retort. So you think, but we've known each other for a very long time, Vegeta. On the lookout, Piccolo feels out the situation in astonishment. He says aloud it's like a bigger Vegeta with a soul of pure rage. Goku doesn't know how he managed to get to Earth undetected, but it's already obvious this guy is on the same level as he or Vegeta himself. As Piccolo gets an idea, questioning if he would be able to teleport to Namek. But he can't. The last time he did so, he was only able to from the Lord of Worlds place, aka King Kai's planet. He furthers that Namekians don't have very much ki and are too far away for him to teleport from here. And that's if he even had the power to do so. Gohan Oob and himself really did a number on each other during their training, and he's currently exhausted. The unfortunate timing only gets worse, as Dende himself is currently visiting Namek at the moment, so there's no way to heal him right now. With a paw shot, Goku hopes Korin might have some sensu beans, even if he doesn't grow much anymore. Not that he doubts Vegeta can handle himself, but this big ki makes him uneasy. Piccolo suggests the three of them stop below to check. Meanwhile, Goten and himself will go back up Vegeta. While they may not be much aid, it's better than letting him fight alone. With the plan set, our hero promises to meet up with them once they're healed, urging they watch each other's back and be careful. Turning to Popo, Piccolo leaves the palace in his hands until he returns, who is happy to keep watch. The gang splitting up and Goten and Piccolo heading to the battle. Vegeta demands the invader explain who he is, who snickers at his impatience. But if it's the truth he desires, then the truth he shall have. He is indeed a Saiyan like him, even born on planet Vegeta. And just like the prince here, he is the son of King Vegeta. Demanding him to look into his eyes and he will know he speaks the truth. The invader is Vegeta's brother. If what the stranger says is the truth, why has he come to Earth? What grudge could he possibly have against Vegeta? Or has he arrived for another reason entirely? Wale